chill, 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 chill. Lo-fi? Yeah, lo-fi chills. Hello, everyone. This is me, your friend Carlz, talking about comics for yet another week. Well, last week was mostly, it went over time because it was just that long. It was important. I had to acknowledge, like some of the news that they were mentioning, right? Especially Iron Man. I've been thinking about that new Iron Man book and how, not that I hated the last, but that I really didn't care for it. The whole magic armor and having that big sword and thing, it was fun, but anyways, this week we go back to normal, to the classic for all of us comic lovers. I think I explained it once. The classic, what is Spider-Man doing this week? That's the common name, but it's just, it can work for any other hero, right? But anyways, let's go with this week recommendations right away. So, this is KO already began, and like general ideas without spoiling it. Well, we can say at least that it's not gonna go the traditional route. It does seem that they made a really explicit point of, okay, we're gonna challenge all of these characters. Like the first issue of the event makes a really strong point on challenging the characters' values. Obviously, it's mostly focused on Superman because Superman is the icon for DC. But they already introduced the idea that they're not gonna go in just an easy line. It's not gonna be an easy storyline for any of those characters. They already show the full lineup, and there are a lot of them really interesting to see what's gonna happen and what they're gonna do. But what I really want to recommend is not the event on itself, which, well, if you are into DC, you should be reading, because as I've said plenty of times, events in DC are way important and they're always relevant. So there will be no point on reading the tie-ins if you're not gonna read the main event. But the main tie-in that I wanted to recommend this week, and I will definitely be checking out, is Justice League Unlimited, because in this tie-in they're gonna have like characters that are not part of the tournament, but they're gonna be researching something really important. Basically, part of the whole transformation of the universe in DC's KO has to do with elements of apocalypse that has been seeded throughout planets and throughout like realities, you can say. So there's one big mystery of how will the Earth behave to this transformation. And in the middle of it is Mr. Terrific, a character that has been quite pushed lately. He's in Detective Comics right now. He has the year one. It's of course a prominent figure in Justice League Unlimited. But now, since all time is jumbled inside of the event, he's gonna be pairing up with some interesting characters from alternative timelines. And well, lately, I don't want to spoil that much either, but Superboy Prime was back, and he had sort of like a change of heart as a character, which was really interesting. Going to show how bringing back these characters right now, it seems that it's all fun and all fun. What is that saying? Fun and good fun and jokes. I don't know. But when they brought back Superboy, it was really interesting what they did now. So I'm hoping all of these characters from alternative timelines can have a spotlight in this short-lived tie-in, the Terrific 10. Sounds cool. But anyways, the DC's KO began really strong. One thing that I can mention without spoiling too much is something that I was sort of worried before the book came out. That was that maybe Batman was gonna be too much in it again. This had like Batman written all over it, but he was out. So the Justice League Unlimited DC's KO tie-in. There's of course this week there's plenty of tie-ins to the event, the Flash and like whatnot. everybody's gonna be doing something, and they did something really smart where like you can focus the tie-ins in characters that didn't make it to the tournament, which is really interesting. So they're gonna be developing the story around the main event, while in the main event the shit happens, right, and people fight for it. It's really interesting. Who's gonna be the heir of, I almost say Apocalypse? Who's gonna be the heir of Darkseid, or who's gonna be the heir of Darkseid's energy to fight him? It's quite interesting, I gotta say. Issue 1 was really fun, and let's see how the tie-in's going. As I said many times, I'm not the greatest Flash fan, so maybe having this event behind it could bump a little bit the hype for it. But that's it, the Justice League Unlimited. This is KO tie-in. Next. Speaking of end of the year events, the other event that's going full force is the Age of Revelation. I've read some of the issues that came out. I already have kind of like an image or like an idea of what's going on. Of course, the big thing, which is what Revelation did himself after the 10 years. All we know is that the virus that either kill or turn people into mutants, like left a big scar in the what they call the Revelation territories. They have a whole map and all, like this kind of like role-playing campaign type of things where they have a map or an influences or whatever. But to me, it was all about the characters. And one character that they shown in a really interesting way, even though it's a thing that we have seen from him a lot, is Wolverine. I'm not gonna mention, I mean, I am gonna mention it, but like Wolverine and X-23, now Sabretooth, and now Wendigo as the last Wolverine. So basically, in a nutshell, Wolverine was brought back to this assassin type of role. Revelation just turned him back into this just weapon, right? The Weapon X. He was the weapon. So he's going back to this role, and it's really interesting now because he has a lot of things more to strive for. That's sort of the thing, and that's why I mentioned Laura as Sabretooth, because even though Wolverine, even in Ultimate Wolverine, he went back to being this weapon or this killer, right? But now it's important because in Sabretooth they introduce so many more elements of his family. So we have Akihiro, we have Laura, we have what's the name of the little sister? Well, I forgot, but the younger clone of Laura, and now we have Wendigo taking the mantle of Wolverine, and they did something really interesting with the whole mantle concept. By Laura becoming Sabretooth, she took a role that is both in name and both in character. So they are all adapting and surviving to the Age of Revelation. But in the middle of it, of course, it's Logan, the Wolverine. And he's been through a lot of shit in the character's fictional story and in the comic story themselves. He has been through a lot of shit. But I don't know, I guess it's fun just to see him suffer in a way. It's like a sort of a Jesus figure. But the point of me recommending the last Wolverine is that out of all the titles that have come out of the Age of Revelation, what's going on with Wolverine and his family, to me, it's kind of like the most interesting ones, because these characters have been a little bit tame, even though they are like extreme. Wolverine is a strange character. He always tries to be pushed to the extreme in violence and in content and in overall narrative, being more aggressive and violent, and as I said, pushing to the extreme. But he has been taking secondary roles, and he has left a little bit of that, you can say, as I said, limit, or like that the edge of more teenage oriented storytelling into a more adult, if you want to say. They always release some alternative, I don't know, weapon something or like this, but this one is the main Wolverine. And as they have stated plenty of times, this is not going to be just something that is going to happen. It's not going to have any repercussion. This is going to come back somehow, and hopefully will push Wolverine back a little bit, make him a little bit more edgy. Like in the last volume when like his mom was alive. Of course, it was the seed, but the mom was alive. That was the whole thing. Now, let's see what happened with Wendigo being Wolverine, Laura being Sabretooth, and Wolverine being an assassin again, like a mindless assassin. That dynamic is gonna be super fun, and I'm definitely looking forward to it. So the last Wolverine tie into the Age of Revelation. Next. So the whole one world of Under Doom kind of like just ended. It did kind of like ended. I said plenty of times how the Marvel does events. The event itself might be good, so you have like the 6 core numbers, but like the other characters are not necessarily that good, or like they don't necessarily develop with an intensity that is proper to an event. But anyways, Ryan North's run of the Fantastic Four has always surprised with tiny self-contained stories about the family, which is great. I don't wanna say that after one world under Doom something necessarily had to happen with the Fantastic Four, but anyways, the Fantastic Four are back to weekly antics, and despite of one world under Doom, I want to recommend Fantastic Four number 4 because it's gonna be a story completely focused on Alicia. They have this new dynamic as a family with Ben's and Alicia, 2 adopted kids, and well, the classic things that have always been happening between the rest of the family. But Alicia is always there. Alicia is a character that I love a lot. I love that character, and I think that contrast of kind of like sanity or just straight up like street knowledge that Alicia has is great. Actually, I was trying to I wanted to use this time to make props for the Alicia in the old Fantastic Four movies. I think it was really proper. But anyways, this Fantastic Four number 4 is gonna be an Alicia story, and I think that if you're a collector, it's a great like single issue to just have. If it's just one issue about Alicia being cool and like being centered and grounded and bringing the family together, I think that's worth either reading or getting. Plus, I love Humberto Ramos's art. Like, it's just, I don't know, he has something that brings me to I don't know what it is. I love his run in the academy, drawing all those kids. I think he does kids better than adults. But anyways, this is gonna be an Alicia Center Fantastic Four, and if you love the character as I do, it's worth getting, like, completely. Though I hope they sort of hint to some more Fantastic Four, more epic stories. I mentioned this when I talk about the movie. To me, the Fantastic Four always have this potential of leading to big sci-fi, time-traveling worlds, like world-ending stories, and those are my favorites. I hope they take center stage soon. Especially, I don't want to say Franklin, but since the movie First Steps came out, I think they're gonna push Franklin in some way. They always do that. So looking forward to Avengers Doomsday in like 2 years. I'm pretty sure they're gonna come up with a Franklin Center story soon enough. So it's good to stay on with the Fantastic Four, even though in this time it's for Alicia, not for Franklin. Fantastic Four number 4. Get it? Next, I praise Absolute Wonder Woman enough. I'm not gonna focus only on praising, but in Absolute Wonder Woman number 13, still by Kelly Thompson, they're gonna bring back the Amazons for this absolute title, and that is no small thing because we are already number 13, and we know this Diana is bound by magic, and it's not bound to the Amazons, to their lifestyle, to their values. That's what made Absolute Wonder Woman at the beginning so interesting. Like she could not be just a traditional Wonder Woman by the mere fact that they took the whole Amazon background from her. But now they're bringing it back. They're bringing it back in this new story arc for Absolute Wonder Woman, and not only that, it's the important thing, since all of these elements that are necessarily part of her background as an Amazon are gonna come back. But I feel like, and this is my own speculation, I have this strong feeling that amazing Absolute Wonder Woman is gonna be somehow headlining the Absolute Evil event. So this is a little bit of like an update or pick me up from, what did I call the section? I don't know. But like in Absolute Evil, the crossover event by all the bad guys in the Absolute sub universe, parallel universe, they sort of highlighted the dangers of meta humans in a global scale. And even though Superman is of course Superman, and Batman has done things, the one that made the biggest splash out of them all was Wonder Woman. So I have a feeling that she's gonna take the lead moving forward. Absolute Batman is too niche, and Absolute Superman is too like explosive in a way, which I like, but it's too explosive. But the one that it's there like a really show a strength of a hero in like a meta-human hero in a real world is Wonder Woman. So still in love with the Absolute universe. The Absolute Trinity has been amazing. I cannot recommend these books enough. They're probably my favorite thing of the second half of this year in comics. The Absolute Universe. I think they completely nailed it. And well, keep an eye on Absolute Wonder Woman. I sure will. Absolute Wonder Woman number 13. Next. This is another update. I talk about the turtles a little bit. Jason Aaron's turtle, like the whole really dark, gritty. It's funny when the dark, gritty, not reboot, but the dark, gritty version of something works. But the whole thing about this current run of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which is my first TMNT. What is harder to say, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, or to say TMNT, the Turtles? I just call them the Turtles. Now in this run, number 12, now they are all together. They are like back, and nothing has finished. Nothing has ended. So the whole concept of the ghost of Splinter is still there. The cost that had in the four of them being apart for so long, they came back with a lot of baggage, but Jason Aaron has pushed them together, forced them together to work together to be the turtles that we know and love, and that this is what is going on now. Number 12, they are back together by force, by need, and well, let's hope they bring a new dynamic. If this run has been fresh to me, as someone that has never before read Turtle comics, but I have the whole background having grown up with them, right? They have been part of my life, all my life. It's great to see them back together. It's not that they have been strictly separated before, but now the story is coming to that point where everybody needs to come together, turtle up, go ninja, and do stuff. So I think now is the time for, I mean, if you're gonna read it, you gotta read the previous ones, right? But it's pretty exciting, and I've been having fun for someone that never read like a turtle comic before. it felt strangely familiar and welcoming. Like I only consume some of the series, some of the movies, so since the 90s to now, it felt oddly familiar to just dive into these characters, even though you haven't read a single comic before this. And that's a work of that's the good work of a good writer. So get on the turtles, the turtles. Plus they look cool. They're still cool, man. Like I don't know. There's something about a turtle with like a bandana and a ninja weapon that just remain cool on my mind. They probably will forever. Anyway, next. To me, this is probably the title of the week. I didn't want to talk about both Ultimate Spider-Man Incursion, which is ending this week, I'm pretty sure, and they have Miles Morales number 39, and they are calling it the fallout from the Ultimate Spider-Man Incursion. To me, this is the book of the week, simply because we know the Ultimate Universe is ending. We know. And now we know that the Incursion is ending a little bit before. By the Incursion, I mean Miles Morales' like place in it. To be fair, the Ultimate Spider-Man Incursion hasn't been that fun to me. He has spent a lot of time just interacting with the Ultimate X-Men side of it. Like, I don't know, just reiterating the values that we already know that Miles had. After all, he went back to this universe only for his sister. So I think between the Ultimate Incursion and the Miles Morales Spider-Man, I don't think that they're gonna focus too much of the Ultimate ending into Miles Morales. But the press release talks about repercussions to 616. So ultimately, haha, no pun intended, I like this character. I always say that I like Miles. I like his heart. He's family oriented. And when they introduced his little sister, it was great. Sadly, I don't think the Ultimate Incursion has pushed the character beyond like what you would like for that hard of an experience, going to another universe to save your young sister. For that dimension of an adventure, I think Incursion hasn't been that impactful. But even if Incursion wasn't that impactful, we can still see whatever repercussions it's gonna have in the main 616. Perhaps not universe, but at least Miles Morales' universe. As I said, if you love the character, you wanna know what's gonna happen now. It's funny though, because Miles Morales Spider-Man was going into its own story about those Japanese fox thieves thing. I wasn't really digging it because Incursion was going on. You see my point? So bringing it all back together and hopefully making it worth it. Ultimate Spider-Man, Incursion, and Miles Morales Spider-Man. This is the book of the week. Don't miss it. Next. Speaking of Spider-Man, I'm gonna talk about another tie-in for the Age of Revelation. The Age of Revelation not only has mutants, but has all heroes adapting to this new reality. And I'm a sucker for some type of callbacks. The whole mutated Spider-Man with 8 arms has always been fun to me. So we're gonna see what actually happened to Peter Parker during the Age of Revelation. I think he went even more mutant. Correct me if I'm wrong, but he was a mutant at some point, I think. I think he was a mutant, then they retconned it. I don't know, but he's going full mutant, and I don't know, man. You know what's gonna happen. You take the regular world from Peter Parker, and he just becomes this drama queen or drama king, if you want it. Becomes a character fully centered on the drama, and that is not necessarily fun. But there's an addiction to Peter Parker's drama, which in some way is what has kept the character relevant all these years. There's an addiction to him suffering, so if in the future he had to sacrifice everything and become even more of a monster to be a hero, even me saying that makes you think, okay, I've read or seen this before. Yes, you probably have. And Spider-Man is one of those characters that, even if they say that the Age of Revelation is going to have repercussions on the present of the characters, yeah, you know that Peter Parker is sort of like the exception there, because he's so full of drama and so full of issues that what is one more issue? Am I right? Like, what is one more thing for Peter Parker? What is one more thing for him? But anyways, it's important to take into consideration that Joe Kelly, like sort of like the current lead on all Spidey things, and as I mentioned last week, the one who's gonna lead among Al Ewing and some others to the Dead Spiral event between Spider-Man and Venom. So if you see those names and you see those books related to any of the Spider things, and you like Spider-Man, you should be paying attention, because it's coming to the next event. It's that simple. It's that simple. All these creators, they probably already did the event, so they're gonna be leaving small clues and things like that about the event. So if you see, what did I say? Joe Kelly, Al Ewing, Charles Soule, and in a Spidey book, yeah, just take a look at it, even though you're probably not gonna be surprised by anything in it. And like, as a type of tangent or like parallel, the other Age of Revelation book, Binary, like, it's also one to keep an eye on. It has a lot of Carol Danvers and a lot of Phoenix. That was a mix that it was a surprise to me. I know that being Binary was probably gonna be her, but like, I wasn't sure. So these non-X-Men books for the Age of Revelation to keep an eye on. Radioactive Spider-Man. Next, a little update. I recommended Skinbreaker, like the new book by Robert Kirkman, and I gotta praise David Finch's art. Like, I'm gonna mention number 2 just because of that. He did this sort of like orcs, and it's amazing. The story is super simple. It's just a tribe of orcs, and you have one that is sort of like pacifist and one that is more aggressive. The elder is dying, so they are both challenging for leading the pack or leading the tribe. The world is still small. We don't know much about the world. We don't know much about the reality. All we know is that they are like a really contained tribe, and they are struggling between following a path of aggression or a path of not peace, but like a path of being more measured. It's a great reminder of Black Panther, like especially the first movie and the whole Killmonger, T'Challa sort of thing. But the main thing to me is David Finch's art. It's incredible. When I see art like that, I think, man, this guy's probably like spent so many pencils in this. They have so many lines, and it looks so cool. But anyways, I don't think number 1 was any sort of like breakthrough, but it was fun enough. But it was amazing to look at. So that's a little pick me up. I think Pick Me Up is gonna be the name of the little update. Skinbreaker number 2 in Image Comics. Next, this is gonna be fast. They're already doing 50 issues of the Spawn universe titles. King Spawn, Gunslinger, The Scourge. 50. I feel they were like talking about the Landmark 300 and like a year ago. I don't know, man. 50. And why am I mentioning this? Because I feel like nothing has really happened on 50 issues. Like, where is the big payout on Spawn? I did a whole episode on it, and I don't wanna just keep complaining about it. But where is the central, like, nemesis? Where is the, as I said, the big payout, the big objective, the the gold at the end of the rainbow? It's already 50 issues, and of course the press release is like, oh, there's a new menace coming, and like there's a big thing coming. Okay, but there's like a million Spawn characters, and I don't know. I guess I never bought the Spawn expansion. I never did. I never did. Fell in love with the Spawn universe. I loved the character. I loved Spawn. I loved his story, and I loved like seeing what he's gonna face, right? Like a new enemy, a new demon. But it was always centered into like the fight between heaven and earth, demons and angels, the earth in the middle, right? But the Spawn universe keeps expanding, and I guess if you're not capable of getting on board with the fact that this expansion means multiple enemies, multiple protagonists, multiple storylines, if you're not on board with that, I think you're not gonna like the state of Spawn things in general, which I think is the point where I am at. Like I don't care for Gunslinger. I really don't care for the Scourge, and in a way this makes me care less for Spawn, which is sad because it's one of the characters of my childhood. But anyways, I'm still recommending at least the main Spawn and King Spawn. Now they're doing 50 issues, and apparently something important is gonna happen. So you never lose like the hope, right? I'm not gonna stop reading Spawn, or at least one of the titles, at least the main one. So let's see what happens in number 50, and if it manages to, what is the saying we do with fish? Reel. If it manages to reel me back into Spawn, I hope it does. King Spawn number 50, the first of the many celebrations of number 50s for the Spawn universe books, saga, whatever. Next to last, so Kelleran Beck, also known as the guy that did Jar Jar Binks. I talk about the solo comic about Jar Jar Binks, but now he's making a guest starring in Star Wars Jedi Knights by Mark Guggenheim and Madibek Musabekov. I haven't talked about the Jedi Knight or like any of the Star Wars books. I mean, I talk about Legacy of Vader a little bit, but I feel like the Star Wars books have reached this state of things where like they just are. What I mean by this is that none of them are like really, to me, none of them are really like, wow, like this is amazing, like this is incredible, like wow, like none of them because because they lack the big main storyline like the Skywalker saga had. Like recently I saw one of my favorite Star Wars YouTubers, the Star Wars Explained, shoutouts, talking about how much they love the High Republic era, and like I was gonna say I didn't give two shits, but like I do care, but like I didn't love it. I think it's just like an office day at Star Wars. But the good thing about the Jedi Knight series, which is basically just fan service, like fucking Yoda fighting, Qui-Gon fighting, like all of those dudes that get like like just straight up murdered in the prequels, like they mean nothing. They are all getting some sort of you can say, I don't know, a second chance. They get to be something in these books. Instead of just being shot in the back by a fucking stormtrooper. But yeah, Star Wars is it's it's just a weird thing to me now. You know how I say what's going on with Spider-Man this week? It's kind of like the same Star Wars. Like, oh, what's new this week? Oh, they're doing this. It's fun. I'm missing that big Star Wars passion project. I always check on as I said, Star Wars Explained, all the content. They read all the books, and I keep in touch with everything. And he starts talking about the High Republic. I only read the comics. I didn't read the books. And he starts talking about so much shit that I found so irrelevant. I thought the High Republic was gonna be this fundamental critique to Jedi dogma, and it began kind of like that. Like, oh yeah, no, the Jedi Order on its pinnacle, its peak influence, they were like so powerful and blah blah blah, right? I thought it was gonna be like that, but it wasn't. But anyways, at least this book, Jedi Knights, is a good dash of fan service to see these characters fighting, and as I said, not being fucking wimps being shot in the back by a fucking clone trooper like they were nothing. They even joke, like Qui-Gon Jinn joke in this book, like I think he was stabbed also or shot, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm fine." And they even joke with that. Well, fuck it, it's Star Wars. Okay. Final recommendation for this week. I talk about Escape #1 by one of my favorite authors of the past 10-15 years, Rick Remender. The first issue was amazing. It was just like the beginning of Saving Private Ryan. It was so hype, and it had that narrative element that you've seen plenty in so many different circumstances, where you have a bunch of characters, you start introducing them, but then spoilers, they all get killed, or they all meet a really fast, weird end. And in the end, our protagonist, the cute bear, he ends up behind enemy lines, which are clearly Nazis, right? And it's up for survival. It has been really fast and really sort of, you can say, action-packed for a Remender book. That was my surprise. Coming from the current Sacrificers, it has been good but a little bit worthy, or Seven to Eternity on recent memory. He did the one about a car. What was his name? I don't remember. That was kind of actiony, but this one is not only laser focused on what it wants to do as this survival type of action, but I'm still looking at the whole anthropomorphic animal discourse. Recently, the book about the teddy bear, not teddy bear is the plushies, right? But the bear serial killer. I should talk about that book. It has a long name. I keep thinking about What We Do in the Shadows, but it was also an anthropomorphic animal book, and that one had the added elements of the characters being drawn extra cute, so the contrast is even stronger. But in Escape, they're not that cute, but it still works to make you think that you are looking at something through a whole different lens, and that lens is the lens of an animal, right? Not as a human being. But anyways, it's Remender. It's full of intrigue. You really don't know what's going to happen. Unlike Sacrificers or The Seasons, well, The Season has been quite actiony too, but unlike those books, is laser focused on action, is topical, it's how do you say when it's about just a specific age or moment in time, it's laser focused on what it wants to be. That's a good way of putting it. So it's Remender, so keep reading it. And that is my last recommendation of the week. Man, I'm really looking forward to, as I said, the book of the week, Ultimate Spider-Man. Like this whole year for Miles Morales has been great. The whole story arc with Anansi being like he being the avatar for the god of stories, Anansi like talking shit with other gods, him getting not one but two new suits. Like the hip hop one was really short lived, but it was okay. Like I'm really looking forward for the incursion of Miles Morales to be something more than just the book. Because as I said, the Ultimate Spider-Man incursion wasn't that good. Spent way too much time trying to talk Japanese with schoolgirls. But anyways, another week of comics. Something good, something doubtful. Emotions like Flash go, Flash in front of you, and in the end, all you are doing is reading, which is awesome. So that's another week in comic books. I hope you all enjoyed it. To anyone that listens, big hugs. I hope you have a great week of comic books and keep on reading. See you next week. Bye bye.